Welcome to At the Lamb's High Feast. I'm Father Timothyek. This week we celebrate the first Sunday of Lent on February 22nd, 2026. You can find today's readings in the show notes. May the Lord who feeds us at his altar bless you through his word. Why do I long for goodness, and yet evil continues to dwell in my heart? Why do I feel part of this world, yet not at peace here? Why do I sense deep within me that there is order in the cosmos and yet experience such chaos in it? The second story of creation from Genesis lays bare the origins of this conflict within our hearts. We heard first that God formed man out of the clay of the ground. We are made from this world and to live in it. We are not called to be disembodied floating spirits. God then made a garden, Eden, and filled it with wonderful things for us, a paradise to live in. And so we are made to live in peace and harmony with creation and each other. Everything was made with purpose and order. Nothing was an accident. And if this is the design or plan for our existence, then whence comes the evil and chaos that we experience? In the same story of creation, we heard the serpent using his cunning to cast doubt upon the harmony of the cosmos. Did God really tell you not to eat from any of the trees in the garden? And then continued to cast doubt upon the result of eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And what does that accomplish? It makes God look as if he acted arbitrarily and randomly, that he is holding back the fruit out of some kind of power games, that the world is not truly harmonious, but the imposition of God's brute power upon us. And so the serpent questions that there is even a fundamental harmony of creation, that there is order and reason guiding the world. And Adam and Eve fit the bait. And does not doubt and suspicion poison our minds so quickly? We give ear to these things so readily. And what is the immediate result of the fall? Disorder. Disorder entered into the souls of Adam and Eve, causing them to experience a breakdown between their body and soul. No longer are they their own masters. In turn, disorder entered into their relationship. They become mutual objects to conquer and so a threat to each other. They can no longer control their passions, and so they must hide their bodies out of safety. No longer can they trust each other. This disorder then separated them from God, before whom they can no longer stand in harmonious friendship. And finally, the world itself spurned them, and in labor and toil they had to work the land. Chaos and disorder enter into every level of their existence as it destroyed the harmonious order intended by God. Why is this the case? Why is sin so destructive? Because sin is essentially irrational. Our faculty of reason, that ability for us to reason about things, is what enables us to recognize the order and relationship between things. Sin, in turn, is the rejection or breaking of the divine cosmic ordering. That is, sin causes order to become disorder, and disorder breaks the proper relationship between things, which means it breaks the ability to understand how things relate to each other. And so disorder is essentially irrational. It is incomprehensible. And that is why evil is so frustrating. We recognize it, we experience it, and yet it cannot be understood, even though we understand that the world ought to be understandable. We recognize that there was a fracture in the order of the world, but the very fracture of that order hides what was meant to be. It hides the order, the harmony that we know is missing. The world after the fall is like a broken vase. We know that it ought not to be broken, yet we have no idea what it looked like before, nor how to put the pieces back together again. And it is in the midst of this frustration before the fractured reality which we cannot fix that Christ's entrance into the desert is so important. The desert is the opposite of a garden. It is unable to sustain life. It is a place of chaos, disorder. Into there, Christ goes to confront the devil, the one who casts obstacles in our way and causes chaos to enter into God's order. There, the devil tempts Christ to command that these stones become loaves of bread, and so live within the chaos. In response, Christ says, "We live on every word that comes forth from the mouth of God. For it is the word of God that spoke the world into harmonious existence, and it is our disobedience of that word that brought chaos into the world." We are not to settle in the chaos, to make terms with the chaos, but to let the word of God restore order in the chaos. Then the devil tempts Christ to throw himself down from a parapet. That is, to do something dramatic, to draw God into the chaos, to force him to act in some way. Christ responded, "You shall not put the Lord your God to the test," meaning it is not our place to dictate to God how he will restore order in the chaos. We are the ones who caused the problem. And so it's not for us to tell God how he is supposed to fix it. And then finally, the devil tempts Christ with the promise of dominion over all peoples, if Christ but worshiped the devil. This is the ultimate temptation. If I but worship ultimate power and seek to exercise power universally, then I can bring order into the chaos by brute force. All I must do is worship power detached from all order, from all reason. In reply, Christ said, "The Lord your God shall you worship, and him alone shall you serve." God alone is the source of harmony and order, and it is only when we humbly submit ourselves before him and his wisdom that chaos will be destroyed. But this is not a submission of subjugation, since God's order is not one of despotic brute power, but one of reason and love, which directs all things for their flourishing, since God desires only their good. In response, he desires our friendship, and that we acknowledge his divine providence. And it is in the face of this that the devil flees. Now, this sojourn in the desert by Christ was not a singular historical event, but plays out in the soul of every Christian each Lent. During these 40 days, God enters into the wastelands of chaos which we harbor in our souls through sin. He enters to rebuke the Lord of chaos, so as to free us to receive his divine harmony. We, in turn, must enter into the deserted places of our lives and come kneeling before Christ therein instead of the Lord of chaos. For it is there, in the heart of darkness, that we will in 40 days' time find a cave from whence a radiant light will burst forth, bathing the entire cosmos in divine providence. Be stout-hearted. Journey these 40 days through the chaos of sin so as to be blessed to see the restoration of our heart's desires.